It's hard to ask for help. Sometimes it's because it means recognizing you can't do it on your own. Sometimes it's because it feels like you're weak. And sometimes you don't know what kind of bad space you're in until you look back after someone else helped you out of it. Some people think that Toph doesn't have a character arc because at the start she's brash and tough and unforgiving, and at the end she's brash and tough and unforgiving. But Toph does change across the story. Toph's arc is about learning to ask for help. It's about learning to lean on others, that being vulnerable does not make you weak, but also letting others lean on you. Just want to say thanks to everyone who has bought my book on writing and world building. We just hit 25,000 copies or something, which is way beyond whatever I expected. I want you to know that Volume 2 is coming, it's over half done, and it's a real step up from Volume 1 in so many ways. I'll explain that another time. If you want to buy the book, then please do, down in the description below. When we first meet Toph in The Blind Bandit, we actually meet her twice. First as an independent, brash, tough earthbender capable of taking down opponents 4 times her size, and then as a helpless blind girl in frilly dresses, dependent on her wealthy family for the smallest of things. One of these is very clearly a lie, a facade that Toph puts up to hide who she truly is and appease her parents. But this dynamic of Toph putting on a facade to hide her true feelings is actually something of a recurring theme in her story, because even though she is tough and is independent, at the same time, Toph uses this as a way to hide her insecurities around depending on others, and even perhaps not meeting their expectations. It becomes the lie the character believes, that depending on or opening up to others is weakness. It warps her view of not only herself but of others and the world around her, and it manifests in her treating others worse. This is why when Iroh pours her a cup of tea, she accuses him of infantilizing her, looking down and condescending, thinking that she's incapable, can't even pour her own.
I poured your tea because I wanted to, and for no other reason.
When Katara wants her to help set up camp, Toph refuses, saying,
I can carry my own weight. I don't need a fire, I've already collected my own food, and look! My tent's all set up.
This lie she believes manifests her insecurities in a very I've got mine, you get yours mentality. This also might be why the writers made Toph so powerful right from the start. When being powerful on your own becomes a big part of how you see yourself, it's a lot harder to admit that you might need help every once in a while, that you might need to rely on others, because that interferes with how you view yourself. It might feel kind of like admitting weakness, that despite being part of a group, Toph does not know what it means to be part of a team. And Toph lacking empathy is a recurring problem in the series, dismissing or minimizing the pain of others and not trying to understand or empathize with them. But it's also important to recognize that this comes from a deep place of pain for her. She struggles to empathize because when others supposedly empathized with her because of her blindness, a disability, it was really just pitying her. And pity is uniquely dehumanizing. When people make you feel incapable and helpless, even accidentally, the last thing you want to do is feed into that. That it's like the people around her were more uncomfortable with her disability than she was. But across the series, Toph does slowly learn to open up and rely on others, partly because her new friends give her empathy and not pity. Iroh tells her,
You sound like my nephew. Always thinking you need to do things on your own without anyone's support. There is nothing wrong with letting people who love you help you.
But it takes a long time to internalize this. It's why it makes sense that the struggle primarily manifests itself in her conflict with Katara, the heart of the group, who always wears her emotions on her sleeve. It takes a long time of others seeing her as capable and equal, not being uncomfortable with her disability, for her to see that their empathy doesn't come from a place of pity. Yes, Sokka shields her body, but it's not because he views her as fragile, but because he cares for her. Iroh helps her, but not because he views her as helpless, but because he wants to help her as he would anyone else. Katara asks about her feelings, but not because she sees her as weak or overly emotional, but because she doesn't want Toph to be alone. Keep in mind that she never had a friend her entire life until then. and the only dependence she experienced was the banal cruelty of her parents. It's only through seeing how Aang, Sokka, and Katara rely on each other in ways that respect their individual strengths that Toph begins to see that not only dependence doesn't make you weak, but it can also make you stronger together. Narratively, I feel that the writers let this conflict culminate in the moment where Toph finally asks Katara for help to write a letter to her family.
Katara, I need your help. I want to send a letter to my parents.
I'll be happy to help.
This is about Toph's relationship with others growing, yes, but it's also about her changing how she views herself as well. Sending a letter with Katara's help means that she recognizes that opening up and being vulnerable can be a good thing, a healthy thing, that she doesn't have to do it all on her own. But there is a deeper level to discuss here. Toph's arc is also about the fears and risks that come with opening up. One of the moments that stand out to me comes from Tales of Ba Sing Se, where Katara finally gets Toph to try a makeover. And though Toph finds it difficult, she opens up and admits that she does like feeling beautiful to others, only to then be burned when she's mocked. She then insists that,
One of the good things about being blind is that I don't have to waste my time worrying about appearances. I don't care what I look like. I'm not looking for anyone's approval. I know who I am.
This is partly true to her character, but she's also clearly minimizing the pain that not getting that validation from others causes her. This is why she feels validated when Katara then tells her that she is pretty. Over and over, Toph tries to open up, but retreats when she's met with scorn and rejection from others, because opening up can be painful, and it takes her a long time to feel that being seen in this way is even worth it at all. This is why, despite taking place in the context of applying makeup and Toph being a girl, her arc often reflects the struggles that I know a lot of men face. I was a competitive swimmer for over half my life. I competed at nationals, and every morning at training I was surrounded by guys who would rip you to shreds the moment you showed any emotion or weakness, really. Looking back, there was serious bullying at times, and that wasn't great, and I was definitely one of the more, they called me, sensitive guys there. But there was also this one girl who I didn't talk to that much, and when we were away on a training camp, we started talking. And then she started crying and trying to hide it around everyone else as I listened. There was this atmosphere where you want to hold up this facade of bravado because being vulnerable will mean being singled out, mocked, especially by other guys, creating this cycle of people not expressing themselves because people wouldn't express themselves. There are dangers to opening up and being vulnerable, and some people only ever experience that isolation and alienation. They don't receive the support they need, and so being vulnerable becomes just opening yourself up to attack. It takes a long time with the right people to unlearn that sort of thing, and that's why it takes Toph a long time too. Now, Toph doesn't have her own life-changing field trip with Zuko like all the others do, but she does have a series of moments all defined by one character change. Firstly, she asks Katara for help to write that letter. Secondly, after missing the airships in the finale, Toph asks where they are in the sky, and the moment the Sokka points them out, she launches them into the air, trusting Sokka completely. And thirdly, going onto the airships themselves means she's knowingly risking having to rely on Sokka and Suki's sight completely, which in the end, she has to, left hanging from Sokka's hand. Seeing mostly through her own feet, he becomes her entire world here.
Hang on, Toph!
Aye, aye, Captain!
Character arcs are most effective when characters make choices that they could not have made before, which is why these moments aren't just defined by Toph needing to rely on others, but choosing to rely on others. She lets herself be vulnerable, physically and emotionally, and she's come to understand not only that it doesn't make her weak, but that it makes her stronger than she ever could have been alone. She has seen through her lie. Independence is a strength, but being alone is not. Asking for help is hard, and in my experience as a self-harm and suicide helpline counsellor, I find that the most common reason that people don't reach out is that they don't want to put their problems on others, that they don't want to take up the time or effort when they think that other people must have it worse. And I get that, I do, it's something that I've struggled with in my life too. But one person's pain doesn't make yours less painful, or less worth talking about. And there are people out there who want to listen. I think part of the reason that these relationships in The Last Airbender resonate with me so much is that their support is never one way. It's never just one person taking it all on, bottling it up in themselves. The people opening up to you want you to open up to them as well. So please, dear listener, I want you to know that there's no threshold of pain that you need to hit before it's worth reaching out for help. Toph didn't struggle with this, but you might. So I've left links and numbers to helplines down below in many countries, because I know that being alone only makes this stuff harder to deal with. We're gonna get through this. Stay nerdy, and I'll see you in the future.